Hey guys, I just woke up and I noticed that the Japanese setlist of Tokyo Revengeance has been published on their website. Tokyo Revengeance is a set I'm pretty hyped about. It's releasing in Japan soon with the English version following not too long after. It used to be a worldwide release, but of course the English version got delayed, which is nothing new to be honest. I've been following along with the reveals and the set seems to have some solid versions of most staples and some decent clones of existing advantage combos and finishers. But what really caught my eye was not one of the many strong double Rs that they've got. No, instead I would like to showcase a number of really good, but mostly lower rarity cards. Without stalling too long, let's dive right in. Now first off we have this common rarity Mikey level 1. Now I really do wonder who at Bushiroad thought that this was a reasonable effect. Now this card can just straight up delete most costless level 1 or lower characters pre-combat for free with its minus 6k power. Sure, it's pretty weak itself, but does that really matter when it can create its own open lane for a direct attack? If there's ever a meta where the level 1 Aaron Climax combo from Attack on Titan starts being relevant again, or any similar abilities start being played, then this card just straight up serves as a hard counter. Even still, in the later stages of the game, this card can be very useful as a way to halve the power of most level 2 plus characters, making them easier to contest. This card will serve you better than most on-play or attack power pumps you could reasonably imagine to include in a deck. For the next card we have the Mitsuya level 0. Now this card at the start of your opponent's attack phase allows you to choose one of your characters and then put it underneath the Mitsuya as a face-up marker. This is very reminiscent of the Morgana bust from Persona 5, but at a limited scale and a more affordable cost. There's just so many uses for this card. With this card we can start denying reverses from level 0 onwards, prevent the clean cut from resolving, prevent level 1 climax combos that are on reverse. It can also just serve as a preemptive Hondon core that actually allows us to discard anything from our hand. There's some other tricky plays you can do with this, like opening up a lane so our opponent has to overswing, dealing more damage than they might have intended, while still forcing them to commit a character that can contest our characters since there's no guarantee of you actually using this ability. The second ability has a chance to plus us as well, by paying 1 and resting him to reveal the top card of our deck. Now if that card is a card with a trigger icon, we get to add that card to hand. And yes, this also adds a climax with a trigger icon. Overall a very solid card with lots of uses and different interactions with our opponent. Just make sure to, as most P5 players can probably confirm, to not rely on this ability when there's a chance of a win being triggered. Now, going from a card with lots of use cases, we go to a card that is as straightforward as it can get, the Pachin level 2. Now this Pachin level 2 is an uncommon vanilla, which is already somewhat unusual, and yet it also comes with an SR parallel foil, which is even stranger for a modern set, not something you see too often. At level 2, with 1 cost and 8500 power, with only 1 soul, this card is not that impressive. But once you add the Payon into the mix, now this card starts getting scary. The spammable cheat out Brainstorm and the shuffle back are pretty cool abilities to have, but his first ability of giving the Pachin cross turn plus 4k is where this vanilla starts becoming menacing. Having 2 of the Payons in the back means that the Pachins in the front can reach 16.5k power cross turn. That has to be one of the biggest numbers a level 2 can reasonably reach. Now this card could be very rough to deal with for most decks that try to contest the board fairly, and just overall seems like a low investment high reward type of card that can keep winning the board every turn. Next on this list is a Takemichi level 0 with a pretty unique effect. The Takemichi's first ability is the snipe ability that we're starting to see more often, being able to put a cost 0 from the front row to the waiting room if the opponent only has 1 card. But a second ability is what makes this card so unique. At the cost of clocking ourselves, we get to add a card from the top of our deck to our stock. That's it. That is all the card does, yet this really is a huge change in dynamic when it comes to forcefully clocking yourself for the sake of a level up. Now, a forceful level up actually is quite a common reason for people to run cards that have some form of clocking as its cost. But in most cases, the cost of clocking ourselves comes combined with some kind of cost in hand or stock in exchange for something else, which may or may not always be relevant. However, this card just gives us resources to work with and use on other cards instead, which could allow for some very snowbally plays. This will be the first of its kind in English, or at least that I know of, and I'm pretty sure similar profiles will follow. Sticking with the Takemichi cards, we have this 1/7k Takemichi with a very unique ability. When this card is frontal attacked, we are forced to put him into our waiting room, making it die to any character attack. However, we then reveal the top card of our deck, and if that card is a character, we have to put that character in the slot that Takemichi was in before it left the field, and have it be the defending character. So you might already notice, but this card has some insane game stealing potential. Your opponent pretty much never knows what to expect from this card, and neither do we, I guess. It might get replaced by a random level 0, but it might also turn out to be one of your level 3 finishers that suddenly hits the board at level 1. Yes, there's no condition or restriction of any kind to what kind of character can be placed on the stage. As long as it's a character, anything is fair game. Even better is that due to you technically milling the top of your deck if it is a character, you get one card closer to a cancel as well, which makes this card even more snowbally. Get this out with a standby climax at level 0 and you have a potential Gorilla Grodd situation going on. Next on the list is this Chifuyu level 1. Now personally I'm one of the biggest fans of dual lane type of cards, where the cards have abilities if there's a max of 2 characters total in the front row. Now ever since the release of GGO with its initial implementation, I've been experimenting with these effects in some way or shape, as well as with the version in Fate, and will definitely experiment with the version in Tokyo Revengers. Now this Chifuyu actually might be the strongest version of this type of effect that has been printed so far. He has 2 abilities that work off being fielded with a maximum of 1 other character, one of them being plus 4k power, making him a total of 7k cross turn, and the other being that he can give himself and 1 other card on attack, choose a character from your waiting room and put it into your stock. Now having 2 copies of him means that this ability will be stacked twice on both cards, meaning that we can now gain up to 6 stock, of which 4 are cleaned from our waiting room and 2 triggers in a single turn. At the same time, since we're only playing 2 characters, we're also plussing in hand. Now unlike other dual lane type of effects, you can actually get so much value out of even only 1 turn of resolving this Chifuyu twice, which makes this card insanely potent and very much worth running in decks as a supplemental game plan. This card can probably single-handedly fund some of the most expensive top ends in the game, of which Tokyo Revengers has more than enough. Just take a slow turn somewhere in the middle of the game, resolving 2 of these cards, and you're probably sitting at around 10 stock for the rest of the game, which is actually more than enough stock to resolve the Baji finisher, which is our final card. This card's climax combo is kinda nuts not to include. At the cost of 8 stock, 3 hand cards, and putting 4 characters as a marker underneath him, we get to put him and all markers under a specific Mikey level 3 and resolve an extra attack. Now a single extra attack wouldn't normally be anything impressive, but the Mikey that he targets just so happens to have an ability where he gets to put all markers he has on the bottom of your deck and then burn 1 for each marker that was moved to deck this way. Now with 5 markers and 3 initial attacks, plus the extra attack of the Mikey, this means that we get 9 instances of damage off of a 2-card combo, making this combo very consistent to pull off and very scary for your opponent to face. I will not be surprised when this card leads people to include memory counters in their list if they didn't already do so for Against A-Choice Slime. Now these were all the cards I chose to highlight for you today. Tokyo Revengers lower rarity cards are definitely spicing things up a bit, and I'm super excited to mess around with deck ideas once the set releases. If you enjoyed the video, remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.